we already learned the initial information about the Passport on Wheels sa pagtulungan ng DFA at ang Apple Production Unit Incorporated. Ipagpatuloy po natin ang talakayan tungkol dyan. Makasama po natin sa Bagong Pilipinas, walang iba kundi si Mr. Scott Atayde, ang Business Development Head ng Apple Production Unit. Good morning po muli and welcome to Bagong Pilipinas again.
Good morning, Carla. Good morning, everyone.
Umaga. Ngayon naman po, paano po ba ninyo maisa sa larawan yung quality ng service na ibinibigay ng Passport on Wheels in comparison with the consular offices?
Actually, in comparison to the consular offices and to the PAO services that we have the DFA with, there's no difference really. You go through the same process as you would be if you went to a consular office as well, except that the services is just brought directly to the Filipino people. So it can be brought to a private company or an LGU. That's the only difference.
Let's talk about the Filipino people. Kamusta naman po ba yung pagtugon ng ating mga kababayan sa unang PAO o Passport on Wheels?
We got a lot of positive feedback. One is for which is they don't have to travel far anymore.
Yeah,
they can apply for passports within their local LGU, and the process is very quick. So in a few minutes, about 30 minutes, they're done.
Ano naman po ba yung kinaharap ng mga nangangasiwa ng Passport on Wheels? At paano nga po ba ito hinarap ng Apple and at the same time ng DFA?
We had a few birth pains initially. Every project does when you start it. Two of the major birth pains were the crowd control and managing the expectations of the applicants. So we wanted to manage the expectations of the applicants. The PAO services are still by appointment basis. So when an LGU gives the service to their constituents, they have a schedule of application. So if you don't reach the schedule, you can't just walk in and apply for a passport during the actual PAO dates. So we wanted to manage that and make sure that everyone knew that there was a schedule. And then for crowd control, we wanted to manage wherein not everyone comes in at the same time.
Yes,
so we wanted to manage them per slots.
Naku, alam mo, napakaganda nitong Passport on Wheels. Mas lalo na ako malapit na mag-expire yung aking passport. Pero gusto ko lang din malaman, no? At of course, sa ating mga kababayan, saan nga po ba nagpupunta ang Passport on Wheels?
Well, we've gone to a lot of places in the Philippines. Like we've gone as far as Batanes, and as far as Davao, Cagayan de Oro. Just recently, Passport on Wheels was at Aklan. We also go to private institutions like schools, industrial parks, or private companies.
Okay. I'm sure merong coordination with the LGUs po, no?
Yes.
How do they siguro tell it to their, sa mga tao nila, for example, in Davao, how do they coordinate with the people in Davao?
Well, first they start off with a letter of request, which they send to Ashana. And then from there, Ashana will tell the LGUs their basic requirements and what they need to ask the people for. So after that, it's up to the LGU on how they would want to publicize it. So sometimes they have announcements on their municipalities or on their Facebook pages, and they would say that from this date and to a certain date, people can enroll and avail of the services ahead of time.
But is it the same, siguro, process doon sa, when they go to the consular offices?
It's a little bit more easier. You have I think because you have the LGU is actually speaking to their kababayans from their local LGUs as well. So the LGU explains that these are the requirements that you would need. This is the application form that you would have to fill up, and they will submit that to the LGU, and the LGU in turn encodes this information into their computers into a given slot that we provide them.
Okay. Yeah. Since I'm sure marami nanonood dito and very interested about the Passport on Wheels, gusto na rin nilang malaman ano nga po ba yung mga requirements?
One basic requirement says you need at least 500 applicants minimum. So with that, an LGU just simply has to write a letter to Ashana. It doesn't have to be an LGU. Like I said, it can also be a private company. They can write to the DFA and the request for PAO services, say they have an X amount of applicants, that there's the potential that can potentially apply for passports.
Wow, maganda yan. Since we only have a couple of vehicles, I imagine na medyo difficult yung schedule ng PAO operation. Sa mga pagkakataong walang vehicle na available, can the LGU still proceed with the operation? Paano po ba ito?
Yes, definitely. Well, currently we have 8 vehicles right now.
Okay.
So we have 6 I-vans and 2 mega-vans. There are times where we would require like for example, the I-van at Cebu. Then we'd have to ship the actual vehicle. We don't just drive it there. But in cases where there's no vehicles, we can send. We have extra personnel and extra data equipment that we have on stock, with special cases, and they just board the plane and they go to the scheduled dates that the LGU scheduled with the DFA.
Sa bagay naman before ka mag-renew ng passport mo, you really have to schedule it. Hindi naman pwedeng, kahit sa mga consular offices, you just don't go walk-in. Kasi napakahirap talagang pipila ka ng mahaba. And it's nice that now there are PAOs or passport on wheels going around the Philippines. So it's nice to encourage our televiewers na tangkilikin po ang PAO.
Yes. So to our fellow kababayans and the local LGUs who would want to avail of the services, you can send a letter request to Oshana and request a certain date, and we can go from there and schedule your PAO services at your local LGU.
Alam mo, marami talaga mga televiewers natin ang very interested about the passport on wheels. Kaya naman tuloy-tuloy pa rin po ang ating talakayan. Of course, about PAO kasama si Mr. Scott Atayde. Kaya naman samahan niyo ulit kami sa aming susunod na episode ng PAO.